All right, hello everybody, and welcome to another top five, the last top five of 2024. Missed last week. The holidays got in the way, but that does not mean that we can't close out the year by talking about the top five characters that I want to see come to Marvel Champions. This might not be in the near future. This probably is going to be a ways off, looking at my list, kind of taking it all in. And the silhouettes, this is not going to be any of the silhouettes. Just in general, the Shield theme. Is this going to be a two-box arc? I don't know. I can't imagine it will be. But either way, these are characters that I hope that over the life of the game we will see, and they will be able to expand in different directions and for different reasons. No custom designs here. This is just going on vibes. So what I'd like to see, maybe a few ideas of what we can do with these characters. But let's not spend any more time. Let's get into my number five, and that is Doc Samson. The reason I want to get into Doc Samson is that he is essentially a Hulk character, so he's going to be able to give us hopefully something similar to the Hulk, but he is obviously his own character. While he's got the super speed, the durability, the super strength, he's also got telepathic defenses. He does, at one point, I think he is currently our version of Sasquatch, and I don't think he's affiliated with Alpha Flight. Originally, I was thinking of Sasquatch from Alpha Flight, but I feel like that might be too close to the X-Men line, and I just don't know if that's going to happen. But either way, he is a good chance for us to dip back into Gamma, a good way to just sort of get a fairly simple, maybe an improved version of the Hulk. Take the ideas that Fantasy Flight has had about what they would have changed if they could go back and remake the Hulk, and just put that into Mr. Leonard Samson, aka Doc Samson. And yeah, maybe the weakest choice of all of them. I don't have a fully fleshed out idea, but like I said, I want to see more Gamma. I want to see an improved version of the Hulk, and I think that this would be the best way to do it and still give people, something interesting to look at, and a new character that I think is totally off the radar that people would enjoy. Next up, my number four is Wonder Man. We've seen Wonder Man. He is an ally in our game already, but I think that just being able to have a character that's associated with the Avengers. My original thought was I wanted to try to find a character that could give us a little bit more interaction with androids. And while he would not be able to do that, although I believe the original Vision, in the comics, Vision's brain patterns were based off of Wonder Man and aka Simon Walt Williams. And actually, we are going to see him in a show, I think late 2025, if I understand correctly. Maybe it's 2026, but he's going to be, on the radar of MCU people pretty soon. And I think that just in general, a character that's associated with the Avengers could give us just some android allies or some more android interactions. Not to mention the fact that one of his powers, there's always the superhuman strength that everybody has, but he has ionic energy, which I think is a part of the Marvel kind of, comics are weird Marvel space that I think we could get into. It's just dip into what does the ionic energy look like as a mechanic within our game. Also, he's super durable. I think he's got a whole list of just powers that aren't even necessarily always on the forefront of everybody's mind, that we could always, because of his history, he goes all the way back to I think the 70s. I think that you have the ability for a lot of design space that can dip into a lot of things. And so, yeah, I hope that we can get Wonder Man or a character that can kind of fill the same kind of roles to fill into that mold that we can dip into. I feel like I'm saying that a lot. So my number three this week is going to be Jane Foster Thor. And this is purely because if you've watched my channel long enough, you know that I love Asgard. I love everything to do with that. And frankly, I think that Jane Foster Thor, the ally, has some of the best art on an ally card in the game, especially for its time. Because I'm almost certain that was out of the Wasp pack. I don't actually think that was out of oh, now I'm going to get my lines crossed. No, I think that was out of the Wasp pack. And I don't think that was out of the Valkyrie pack as much as it seems like it should be. I could be completely out of my mind here and completely off base. But either way, Jane Foster Thor, have that overlap. I have a feeling we're probably going to overlap with Sam Wilson. He might be the Falcon. He might be, the quote unquote Captain Falcon armor. So we may be able to see another Thor, but in this form, it's going to be just like we might see another Captain America. There's so much to do with Asgard that I would love to see revisited. I would love for them to just be able to expand that out and make something of it. And I think that she is a character that deserves to be in this game at the heroes, at the level of all the heroes. I'm trying to think, what additionally can I say about her? Oh, yeah. Additionally, and I don't know why I forgot about this, she also has something akin to the Death Glow. And obviously, I don't want that to necessarily be like a Death Glow card design space, but if there was some way to sort of like have all the Asgard characters sort of peeking over the fence at each other, I'm pretty sure that Valkyrie has a card. I think she has a card called Have At Thee, just like the ability on Thor. And I think that if there was a event or something for Jane Foster Thor that was the Death Glow, Death Perception, and she could essentially, it was basically like her attack spell or her attack event, where when she deals damage to a character, she defeats her, then she readies back. Basically, she does what the Death Glow card does, but this is just in event form. So it's like if you defeat the minion, if you defeat basically if you defeat the enemy you attack, maybe you ready back up, and that would be really cool, just as kind of a thematic thing. And then what would also be interesting is if there was some part of Jane Foster Thor that was kind of a like looking forward kind of like future proofing thing, where Thor had a card that referenced something on Jane Foster Thor's pack. Like I don't know, it would just be interesting if basically every single Asgard hero just sort of like had some card name or ability that bled into another Asgard hero, so that they all kind of were this, Ouroboros of sorts, and that'd be kind of cool. But yeah, I just want to see Jane Foster Thor. I'm excited for her. I think that she has great art, and I think that she's always had great art. And even though we would be mining from a relatively small amount of actual comics from that time when she is Thor, I think that there's still a lot to go with, and I would love to see what they could do if thrown into that sandbox. My number 2 is going to be a bit of a curveball, but I want to see Mimic, aka Calvin Rankin, as a hero in Marvel Champions. I feel like we've seen what Rogue can do, where she can sit there and do the touched ability, but I want to see what happens when you have a character that I think the design space here would be traits matter. He would come into play. He would take on the traits of like every friendly character and maybe like the villain. I don't know. But somehow take that idea that Rogue had, where she gained certain keywords based on who she was touching, and make his entire suite of cards about if you are a brute, if you are this or that, and it kind of gives an additional thing. So like his attack event deals 5 damage, but if he's a brute, it deals 3 additional damage, something like that. Just like make him the traits matter hero, and I think that would be so interesting. He is sort of an anti-hero. He was basically the 6th X-Men, the 6th first X-Men of the first 5. He is my Green Ranger. He showed up, he was kind of a bad guy, but then he led the team for a while, and he's never going to be as cool as Tommy Oliver, but at the same time, I think that's why I like him. I think because he was just sort of the first new X-Men to come along after the X-Men had already done their stuff. He's sort of been maligned. I think at this point, he might be deceased in the comics. I don't think he's actually a mutant, so I don't think he got to be resurrected during the Krakoa era. But either way, I think that we've just got what would be a very interesting design space that just hasn't been mined yet. And hopefully within the next year, we don't see another hero that shares that same space, thus meaning that we're just not going to be able to see Mimic, in his full glory. And my number 1, my last pick, is Benjamin Riley, aka the Scarlet Spider. I want to see him in his nice hoodie, his 90s look. I think the issue with this is only the fact that because he is a clone of Peter Parker, I'm struggling a little bit to find what the design space is that says You know, like I said, Doc Samson is kind of what we would do with the Hulk. Get some of that design space of what you do with the Hulk if you were making him in 2025. Maybe this is what would you do with Spider-Man if you were making him in 2025. And obviously we've already seen iterations of this. We've seen Miles Morales kind of be another tweak on what you do with a Spider-Man character. Gwen was the same way. I think Spider-Ham is a little in a completely different direction, but I think that if you were to say this is a clone of Peter Parker, you can take some of the similar things and just put a new twist onto them to make an interesting character. I just think that he also, while he is a clone of Peter Parker, I think he's also lived his own life enough, and he kind of had his mind wiped by different organizations. Like, what was the organization that wiped his mind? That was the Beyond Corporation. So the Beyond Corporation, basically, although he has died, Ben Reilly is currently alive in the comics. He's kind of a villain now, I believe, named Chasm. Do not bring him back as Chasm. Bring him back as the Scarlet Spider. Do not bring him back as the Jackal. Bring him back as the Scarlet Spider. And he's, I guess, kind of a more psychologically broken character than Peter Parker, but at the same time, he's got all the powers. And, don't do Kane. Please just give me Ben Reilly, Scarlet Spider in this game. I would be so enthusiastic. I would change it to Scarlet Spider versus the universe in a drop of a hat. Please make this happen. But that is my top 5 characters that I want to see come to Marvel Champions as heroes. What is your list? What does that look like? What character are you yearning for that's not Daredevil? And I guess the Fantastic Four, that's probably on a lot of people's lists as well. But either way, I will catch you next time, and I will see you in the next video.